Welcome to my stream where I'm going to be programming a to-do list app that takes some inspiration from Kanban methodologies and is based on how I personally like to think of my list of chores. And this is one of the greatest things about programming, is that there's no tool out there that works exactly the way my mind does, so I can create one. The default project that Xamarin generates is already a to-do list. It's got an About tab, and it's got a Browse tab with a large number of mock items. You can also add items, and they appear in the list. This is a good starting point, but it works in a very different way than how I like to think about my items. So I'm going to need to make quite a few modifications to this to better suit my needs. First thing I'm going to do is get rid of the description, because I think that if something takes that much to describe, then you're not doing it right. So let's get rid of description. And it's going to start complaining because I've removed. Okay. So got rid of where it's constructing the constructing the placeholders by setting them, and there will also be the items page and items detail page. Are probably going to have issue with me taking out the description. So edit those UI fields to just remove it. I think this is the best way to change things. Just delete it and see which parts it complains about. Redeploy that to my emulator. Now see that they just have an item name but no description. What about add? Oh, I haven't gotten rid of the label for it, but the field is gone, and I can add a new item and view it. Next step is I want to have a quick look at how about what I'm expecting. So I've got a placeholder here for facing with a server that doesn't exist. Here in the app definition, you can see that mock data store is set to true, which is why it's using the mock data store dependency server. Oh, I see. So on iOS, it just loads the main page. On Android, navigate with the main page. And that would be why when I click on these items, the tabs and such disappear. I guess on iOS, it's more common that the tabs would remain. Pattern. Here we've got, again, tabs on iOS. Title updated. The tab of this tab page shape. So what I want, instead of browse and about, let's just get rid of iOS. Let's put in a big old to-do. Because I'm making this primarily for myself. If anyone else finds this video helpful as a learning exercise or this app useful in their day-to-day life, then that's just a bonus. Really, I'm just making this app for myself. I thought it would be interesting to stream it too. So I'm going to go Pro, new, not implemented exception. So that just means that later on when I go, oh yeah, this is written in Xamarin, it's Xamarin Forms, I can just run it on iOS, there's no problem. That'll throw an exception, I'll go, oh right, I need to fix that. So the different tabs I want to have is going to be a backlog page, in progress page, and a done page. So this will show items that you need to attend to, stuff you're currently working on, and just a list of things that you've completed or deleted. Anything you're done with. Backlog page equals new item page, backlog. So get rid of the about page for the moment, but I'm going to leave the source code for it in the project because I'm going to put the about page back in somewhere else. Go a couple more. We'll go in progress page. I'm going to go done page. Perfect. All right, 3 tabs. Oops. Backlog, in progress, and done. Of course, we don't want to see the exact same list on all of these. So what I'm going to add in to the page is a filter. Fine. Let's have a look how closed that from. Is first add a new class model. I want an enum, and I'll call it state, item state. Backlog, in progress, done, or deleted. Actually, you know what? I'm going to call that completed or deleted. And each of these items is going to have an item state, all in the same namespace there, item state. Okay, get set. And in the constructor, the default state is going to be backlog. So as soon as you create an item, it will go into the backlog. The other thing I need to do is go into my mock data store and make some of these items have a different state. First item will be completed. Second item will be deleted. And lastly, in progress. My constructor for items page will now have a parameter which will be item state, being which state I want to display on this items page. The items view model will also need to know this. Ideally, I would prefer an MVVM architecture that avoids that duplication, but this is what I've got for now. So this will get passed in there. I want to change that. Change the title. You know what? Let's go switch state. How it isn't C sharp. Been a while since I did a switch case in C sharp. Apparently that's not right. Oh. Used to Kotlin, much nicer switch statements in Kotlin. So now it's going to have the right title. So look at what we can do here. So we can get items dot items command AC. Gotta get that system.link. Was nice extension. Okay, so it's just fetching it from the data store and then adding them in. So I'm going to, you know what? I'm going to add an extra method to get, an extra parameter to get items async. Going to be action state filter. That makes sense. I'm going to ignore the cloud data store for now, especially because I'll end up here and go put it main over. Yes. Method. Grab that. I do a. Actually, no. We're going to leave it now. Cloud data store. It's going to do the bare minimum to make sure it keeps compiling. It won't be till I actually start using it that I'll make sure its implementation is actually correct. What's more important in this case is the mock data store. So the items async with state filter, and now we want to go where state filter contains it dot. The other thing I want to do is support nulls. So I'm going to go back here and I'm just going to say that the consuming code just passes in null there. Then I want it to support every possible state filter. Sorry, every possible item state. Again, this is going to complain. Oh, I'm being silly. There. Now it will return all the items if I leave that argument out or if I just pass null. Right, I need to pass through which and this one becomes a little bit more complicated. I realize I've only allowed for one. This one, I'm going to say there. So both deleted and items state dot completed. Eventually I'll be splitting those up in the UI, but for now I just want to throw them in the same tab. In that filter, private read-only collection state filter, privately pass that in here. users will be able to swipe through like this too. Okay. So that's built. Now to resend it to my Android emulator device here. You see here the backlog now only has the 4th, 5th and 6th item. In progress has the 3rd, and done has the 1st and 2nd. I now have some very simple filtering. And if I add an item, see what happens. Item name, save. Now that's interesting. Why does it automatically add to all the lists? New item. Something funny is going on here. The item viewer. Aha. So this is subscribing to the message saying that add item, when an item is added, to add it to the data store and to add it to its own list. Now, that's not the exact behavior we want. How about because only the backlog can accept new items that are being added. So we start with a clean slate because it's not doing any sort of persistence. I'm going to say I start off with the in progress tab, add a new item. Good, it's not in progress. There it is in the backlog. Now I'm going to test adding one from done. Again, it only appears in backlog. For completion, so from each of those screens, clicking the add button in the menu does the same action, which is to add it to the backlog list. Now the next thing I want to do is for users to be able to move items from one state to another. The most obvious of these would be marking something as done. So let's have a look here and see how tapping on an item is handled. Don't actually an item's detail screen. Add item clicked is just pushing that thing, constructing that item detail view model, item detail page. I actually want to do is pull through to this item view model. I think separate enum for the screen type. And then from item state, add enums not have static methods in. Okay. And now I'm just going to do a simple mapping between these two enums, because I've realized that using the same model for two different purposes wasn't really suiting me right. As soon as I typed that dot first in this one, I was like, items. Not sure why the autocomplete is doing funny. Alright, so that's the simpler one. And we want to do something similar with it. Okay. Get rid of that is backlog now. Because we can always just go. Okay. And that's done everything right. It should now look exactly the same. What did I do wrong there? Step. I also forgot this. Okay, backlog, progress, done. At the new model on item clicked. I want this to work. I'm thinking that I want the in progress tab to be the only way that you can move things through the flow. From any tab, you should be able to delete things, but you can only pull tasks from backlog to in progress or mark in progress tasks as done. So let's go switch screen type, or better yet, another idea. What? Just create different classes for this. Perfect example of where classes are. So I'm going to say this is going to be called in progress items view model. And we'll go that. I'm going to say this needs. I'm going to switch this back to the item state. Yeah, there's a lot in programming. It's like I have an idea, write some code, and then like undo it. What's worst is when it's driven from external sources. I have the backlog items view model, which is inheriting from items view model. To call through to the method with rid of those namespace definitions. Okay. space. Yep. And I'm going to do very similarly progress. Of course, with the progress filter. For the items page, we'll still refer to the items view model, but what that's set to will be different depending on which screen type it's using. Progress. And as a default, I'm going to keep what we had before of just straight using an item view model with whatever the filter is for type that's been passed in. Yeah, I think that looks okay. So the extra thing is to move check into the constructor for backlog items view model. What did I do? I missed it. Half a line. How to do it? Still need that filter equals. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is have a public virtual void on item selected. Of course. Work out what we're going to do with that later. Items page on item selected. Instead of going to the item detail page, we're going to call through to the view model and say, tell it that the item is being selected. At the moment, this is a void, returns nothing. But what I'm actually thinking is to return some of these command objects. There seems to be the pattern here of using command as a way of transferring information about what executions you can run. So perhaps the view model could return a list of commands, and the view layer would display that in some kind of pop-up or something. But for now, I'm going to keep it a bit simpler and have for backlog items, I'm going to have tapping on it is going to delete it. The main action that you want to do here is to actually delete things. See why that isn't. So I want to go items dot. I'm going to do after deleting it from the data store. But I don't want to, do I? It's the interesting thing. What I actually want to do is not delete it, but mark it as deleted so it appears in the deleted column. So I think I should actually just change the interface of this to say the item cloud data store. Of course, I don't care much about this. Make sure that compiles, and the mock data store so that's doing. It's finding the item that. What we actually want to do is closer to the updating. I'm going to say item dot state equals item state dot deleted. Really, it should be clone, but add a two, and then wait update item. That's going to take this item that's been provided, switch its state over, and then update it in version. I think it's all going to be the same items. Yeah, it's actually returning those same ones. Whereas if you want to be more safe, you want to make all of your models immutable by making these private. Maybe you should do this now. So, because you want to guarantee that the item stays the same as it always was. And the way that you then mutate it is by creating a method that makes a new item. So I'm going to say with state. Oh, even better. So I'm going to created a new item that has the same ID text and state. Then I'm changing the state and returning it. So in my mock data store, I now can't change the state. I then instead have to say update item with async item dot with state item state deleted, and this will go and replace that item's entry in my list with one that's the same but with the item state set to deleted. Okay, what's it complaining about now? Right, I've made all those private, haven't I? So make a new constructor now. Generate an ID. Okay. So each new entry will use the text provided and will be marked in the log. I'm just doing some manual refactoring here to create my mock items, and I'm guessing I'm going to need to make some changes to the creation screen as well, because it had assumed that they were mutable items. I want the consumer of the API to only be able to set description, because the ID will probably be generated internally in whatever database backend end up using. Actually, this isn't what I should just be a string that the user can type in. That message being to backlog. That item is going to be text. A item equals text as string. And now whenever I tap on an item, it calls this method on item selected, because that's what I put in here. Then for the specific case of the backlog version, it's been overridden to just delete the item. See here, first, second, fourth, there's third, there's fifth and sixth. Click on them, and now they're second. Okay, they're not there. So they're gone from here, but they're not going from there. Let's work out why that is. It appears that the view models are not actually refreshing their data when they get displayed. So appearing. Aha! It's only doing it if it's empty. I want to do it all the time. Pass that in as a parameter though. See why in a second. Alright, so first and second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Going to delete the sixth item. Hey, now it's refreshing. But to hear this true here, where it's passing in a force refresh command. What if I don't want to do that? So I go is empty. Now it will only force refresh when the item list is empty. In this case, it won't matter. It could be any object. Okay, yeah, so as bool. Gotta trust that this message is always being sent with the right. So attempt to refresh that way. And it looks like that has broken my expectation of that being a null. Sorry, that being a boolean. Because it could also be null. So what if I call this as null? Ooh, a nullable boolean. Can I just say bool question mark? I was hoping it could look awfully confused. Now let's try the manual refresh, where it's going to have null as the isEmpty parameter, as opposed to true or false. It now refreshes perfectly fine. Right. So I can now duplicate that somewhat from the backlog items to the in progress one. Instead of delete, I want to complete. I want to mark the item as completed. And like I said, eventually I want there to be like a little pop-up or something that says, do you want to delete it or mark it as done, or do you want to move it back to the backlog? But keeping things very simple to start off with. I should be if checking this. because it might fail. In the mock version, there's no way for it to ever fail, but in a real implementation, it's possible. A network error, and in fact, there needs to be a lot more work done to actually display those errors back to the user. So, our data source. Let's just say our little cloud data source starter store can never actually. And fuck, that is yeah, and now similar to the backlog, it's now moved into the done column. The UI doesn't currently make any distinction between something that's done versus something that's been deleted. I'm thinking maybe deleted items are red and completed items are green, and in progress items and backlog items are just the normal color. We can actually do this. At the moment, I just want to save my work though. So in addition to constantly hitting Command S, I'm going to just commit this into version control. All right, it has been committed into Git. So what was I saying? The next thing I wanted to do was to change the color of the text. So text color equals binding text. No, not text color. Binding text color. Why not? The no, because this is an item, so it's got the text color has got to be based on its state. I wonder what happens if I just try that. Text color equals state. Thinking that there's some way in XAML of making a converter for that. Well, it compiled and it ran. That's interesting. Let's see. And resources. Add a could also call an extension method on there. It's like just to color. It shouldn't because I haven't written that method yet. I'm hoping that if I run it, it crashes. Wait, okay. Do something entirely wrong here. Text color equals green. Oh, that is error. Okay, that does work. And I did see some errors in the console. So I think I just need to actually implement the method. Color property backlog. The target property is label text color. Okay. Xamarin.forms.color. And I'm back not wearing a jacket. Yeah, so I'm just going to finish off this color thing and maybe one other little bit of a feature and then call it a day. So let's say something that's deleted. Red. Something that's completed. Color green. And the default, I'm going to try returning null for now, just to see what it does. See whether it does just leaves it at the default. Oh, it's not liking that. Cannot convert to null. Okay. No. That item stack. Okay. It doesn't support having mention. Like it. Oh, and where we need view model, I think. Public item. Thing for this to use model. It's being an observable collection of item, observable collection of item view model. I'm going to manually change the name. I don't know why it creates them assuming that they're not different and then generates them as different ones. Okay. Horribly inefficient, but that's a future problem. Items are binding now. So now, yeah, let's just put in text. Public string text item.text. And this now just binding color. I probably still messed something up, but we'll see. All right, yeah, that's that removal stuff. Oh, I know. View page actually be an item view model. Yeah, actually, let's just pass through the view model. The other, so this is the view model for the item being passed to the view model for the item list. Then in each of the subclasses, I'm going to do the same thing as we did before. The method that the parameter to the data store function is now item within that view. Because both item view model and item are immutable objects, it doesn't matter so much that we're creating different ones that refer to the same object. Eventually, we'd set the item to be properly comparable. if we're using it as set, maybe in the back end. That's black, and that's green and red. Let's mark all of these as done, and we've got a very Christmassy screen here. All right, perfect. So the last thing I wanted to do is to have a way of dragging something from the backlog to in progress. And the way that this is going to work is the list is going to get an external item. Call that to virtual. Right, so I want this to be an async task. So, and I do still want to do the previous one, but next thing I'm going to do is actually maybe some of these if it's busy return. All right, sure. Just stick with that same pattern, sure, why not? So now this gets called every time this list gets refreshed, and it's going to get the list of items which are in progress. What I'm going to do now is add to that with the I'm going to call this the next item in the back. So this is the next item in the backlog. And it say filter for it this time is going to be backlog. So this is get the items that are on the back that are in the backlog, and I want the first one. On. Split this up so it's a little clearer. Waiting on that, and then the first or default. So that means it'll return null if there isn't any. Otherwise, it will return the first item that is on the backlog. At the moment, there's no way of rearranging the backlog, so that'll just be whichever item was added first. And so if the next item is not null, let me just say first. That way, if an exception is thrown, it'll go through to that. Oh no, I think it does naughty things. Let's not use exceptions for control flow. It's not Python. If next item is not equal to null, and we go items dot add new item model item. Now, item. Now I'm going to make some slight modifications to item view model. I'm going to say that we can't change the item, we can change the color. Okay, got it. Using Xamarin Forms. Color of this one to be blue. Now we've got a blue item. Now here in the on item selected, it's going to complete the item, but this isn't. There's now not all of the items are going to be in progress. If the item backlog, we want to do something different. What we want to do is move it into this list from the other list. So we can do this with await data store dot start item async, which is then a method that I'll need to define alongside the complete and delete. Essentially, I'm just making separate methods for each of the state changes that I expect. That way, the external consumer of the data store API won't be editing the state manually. So no one's going to be changing something from completed to in progress. It's only going to be the transitions that are desired. And this can even be enforced in the implementation. So we can do something similar to what we're doing here with the cloud data store and in the mock data store. We can say that if item.state doesn't equal backlog, return false. So you can only start an item that is in the backlog. You can only complete an item that is in progress, and you can delete anything except something's been deleted. Say that start item puts it into the in progress state. Now, going back to the in progress items view model, if it does do this, if it's successfully able to start the item, we need to refresh the list, I guess. So we could do something like try and manually remove the placeholder item and then add in a new one, but I think in this case it's probably better to just execute load items command, and I really want it to force the refresh. So I'm gonna change the name of this parameter here to force refresh. Yep, it's complaining about that. I'm gonna do it in the and do it everywhere. Force refresh. apart from, actually, yeah, I'm going to change it here, but I'm not going to change it in the command, because in this command, that variable still represents whether the list is empty, and then that is used to calculate whether you want to force the refresh. In this case, the calculation is quite simple. But in this case, here, when I've started an item, which means the list is going to be changed around, I always want to force refresh it. So an item that is in the in-progress items view model, but in the in the backlog state, now has different behavior. And so this means that in that list, we should see the fourth item in progress as well. There it is. Third item, fourth item. All in that list. These guys are still where they are, but the top of the backlog is now visible in a different design in progress. And if I tap that, let's see what happens. So the backlog now includes the third and the fourth item, with the fifth item prompting you to pull it into in progress. So I could say, I could delete the fifth item, and then start the sixth item, and then mark the fourth one as complete. See here that fourth is green for completed, whereas fifth is red for deleted. And it's now got the full flow that you need to be able to add an item to the backlog, start it, and then mark it as either done or deleted. I could already start using this app. I might put it on my phone and play around with it, but obviously there's a lot to be done in the UX of it. I'd call this mostly functionally there, running in memory. Probably the next highest priority is to have that data persisted across when you restart the app. Then I can worry about the design and making each of these interactions make more sense to a new user. I'm going to sign off now. Thanks for watching my stream. I hope it was somewhat entertaining and maybe you learnt something about Xamarin. I know I did while I was doing this. I haven't worked with Xamarin Forms very much in the past, so this is a new platform for me. And yeah, I'll hopefully be doing another part later.